Hi everyone. It's been a long time coming, but Uncharted 4 has finally been released. So without any further ado, it's time to review Uncharted 4: A Thief's End.
As soon as you start the game, you are thrown right into the action, and immediately I was jaw-dropped. The scenery and characters have so much personality to them, and they look so real. Every location is populated. Whenever you're driving around or climbing up tall buildings, you will always see living people and signs of wildlife. The graphics are just stunning, and undoubtedly they are some of the best I have ever seen. Something else that got a big upgrade is the sound effects. They are unlike anything I've heard in a video game. They actually sound real. This makes it much more immersive when you're shooting, blowing stuff up, or even platforming. Whenever you jump onto some wood or a wall to climb on, the sound effects have so much weight and gravitas to them. Seriously, the sound is so authentic and true to life that I don't think it can be topped by any game, period. So let's talk about the gameplay. In short, it was amazing. Surprisingly, the platforming feels slightly revamped with a couple new additions thrown in. Even the stealth gameplay has been improved and is far more efficient than it ever was. Now, I did notice a pretty big problem with the shooting mechanic. Usually in Uncharted I can shoot people with ease, but in Uncharted 4 I couldn't get an aim on anyone, and I actually had to manually adjust all the controls. And the funny thing is, I think Naughty Dog are actually aware of this because there is an auto aim mode available. And on a side note, how come we can't throw grenades back at the enemies like we could in the last game? Also, the armoured enemies are back, and unlike the previous games, they have been reduced to some of the cheapest enemies in the franchise. I mean, they seriously pissed me off, and I didn't like them at all. Now, seeing as this is much bigger in scope, naturally it's going to be easier to get lost. Most commonly in the car and boat stages. Now this is where Naughty Dog should have given us directions. I mean, if they are giving us the option to add auto-aiming to the gunplay, then why can't they give us the option to be pointed in the right direction? That really bothered me, and it made my playthrough a lot longer than it should have been. Now the composer for the music is different this time round. Naughty Dog hired Henry Jackman, who has composed music for many big blockbusters, including the new Captain America Civil War movie. And honestly, he does a great job. There are some really beautiful tracks here, and it perfectly matches with the gameplay. My only complaint with it, and all of Jackman's compositions, is that when the music is meant to be more intense, he usually makes it upbeat and playful. For example, there were some really intense shootouts, and the score became pretty much identical to the most happy music tracks from Civil War. I mean, come on Jackman, this is not a Marvel movie for under 12s. This is a game for people in their late teens. You gotta give us more credit than that. Next up is the story. Now I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I will just say that this is the best story out of all the Uncharted games, and it even has far superior villains as well. The characters' interactions are also much stronger. There's a very charming husband and wife conversation with Drake and Elena, and the game forces you to be a part of it. Really, I just did not want it to end. Also, seeing the relationship between Nate and his brother was really well executed. Especially when you find out that his brother is just as much a joker as he is.
Well, give it a pull.
What? Could be a trap.
You're already in there. What's the worst that can happen?
I lose my hand?
So we'll get you a nice hook.
So in conclusion, Uncharted 4 was definitely worth the hype. When I played the first half of the game, I was confident that I was going to give it a 10 out of 10, but once I started noticing the various problems in that last half, and a really disappointing combat system, my score went down to an 8 out of 10. Now this is not just a standard 8, this was so close to being a 9, but exploring and not knowing where to go became really exhausting for me, and it forced me to take continuous breaks, which is something that never happened with any of the previous Uncharted games. So with that said, go buy Uncharted 4, and despite the problems I mentioned, I guarantee you will thoroughly enjoy it. So this concludes Uncharted month. Also, if you haven't seen my reviews of the first 3 remastered Uncharted games, then click the annotations that will show up on your screen in a few seconds. And thus marks the end of the Uncharted franchise. It has been one hell of a ride, and one I will certainly never forget.
Holy shit!